Hey there, I'm Sean Collins, and today I'm going to take you down a little trip on memory lane to the second affiliate summit, which took place 15 years ago this week. It was Affiliate Summit 2004, took place on a cruise ship. It was the Carnival Victory, and we sailed out of New York City to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And so it was June 24th to the 28th, 2004. And back then it was on the heels of our very first one, which was meant to be a kickoff to try to get the brand out there. And so the first one we had about 200 people, and then we had 230, so a bit of a growth. And we were really constricted by the size of the space we had, so we couldn't get bigger than that. We sold out. But I think part of the reason why we sold out was one of the direct mail pieces I put together. I was big into John Caples and his book back then. So there was a postcard that we sent out, and it said, "They laughed when I said I was going to a conference on a cruise ship," but then I explained it was Affiliate Summit 2004. Apparently that made the difference. I'd like to think so. Oh, by the way, this is being brought to you by Austin Beer Works. Some tasty Pearl Snap. Anyway, at the time a lot of people were like, "Why do you want to go to Halifax?" Because the prevailing cruise conference in the industry was Affiliate Force. They would sell out of Miami and go to around the Caribbean. And so we thought that it would be a better idea to go to a place that was less sunny and tempting to lay out and things. So we figured that if we went towards Halifax, it would be a little bit cooler and maybe foggy-ish. And so people would be more inclined to hang out at the sessions instead of running around sunbathing and stuff. And that totally worked. We had packed rooms for all the sessions. But it had there were a lot of pluses there. Like the networking was amazing. Like we were all together for the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like every night, I'd say probably 90% of the people would all get together on the top deck, and we'd all hang out at this bar. And so the networking was phenomenal. But we couldn't have an exhibit hall because of the space. So that was a little bit tricky. And it had some other fallbacks too. Like we were supposed to have quiet all around our room during the day, but we were right below the dance, I guess the dance club, and they had like a hole in the ceiling and the floor so that you could hear sound from up there. And at one point there were a couple guys from Linkshare that were doing a presentation, and all of a sudden they had like I guess it was musical chairs or something. They were stomping and running around, and they were blasting "Oops, I Did It Again" from Britney Spears. And it was a little bit disruptive to the guys that were speaking. I still feel bad about that a decade and a half later. And also one thing that made it a little bit tricky was that people, since on a boat it's double occupancy typically, so people had to either have somebody they were going to stay with, or they had to have a roommate assigned to them. That got a little bit awkward in some cases, especially because people don't read everything that we had on the site, and it was a surprise to them. So that was a little bit of a mess. As I was looking around at the program from back then, I couldn't find a digital copy to share, but I have this print copy. And it was wild to see the speakers from back then. So many people that I've seen in the last year at Affiliate Summit or outside of there, like some speakers were Todd Crawford, David Delisle, Declan Dunn, Peter Figueredo, Rachel Honoway, Gary Kybell, Beth Kirsch, Chris Kramer, Jonathan Miller, Corey Newhouse, Chris Park, Wayne Porter, rest in peace, Scott Richter, Brooke Schaaf, Carolyn Tang, Linda Woods. It's wild to see all these people that have been around the industry for so many years. Very cool to see that. And one thing, mentioning Wayne Porter there, another one of our longtime attendees that sadly is gone now is James Martell. And I think that was probably the first time I met him. And he posted a video you can see on YouTube if you search for Affiliate Summit 2004. He had just a bunch of clips from the actual conference, and then him going around with his wife Arlene in New York City and different things. And as far as I know, it's the only video that exists of that conference, so it's pretty awesome to see that footage, and I watch it every once in a while. So thank you there to James for that. Also, one other memory I have there is that I'd say it's probably the first time that I ever saw Brian Littleton play piano, the former head of ShareASale. So for many years afterwards, whenever there was a piano at any affiliate summit, he would always turn up there, and there'd be sing-alongs going on well into the night. But I wasn't aware of this particular set of skills he had. One night I was walking through the ship, and I hear the piano playing, and I see a bunch of familiar faces crowded around, and he's there playing along. And I think folklore has it that passersby were giving tips. But a bunch of people in the industry were all singing along with him, and I've got a couple pictures from back then. It's fun to see that. Everybody's all baby-faced back then. And it's neat that so many of these people stuck around so long, and that tradition that I started there, at least as far as I saw it. So that was very cool. And one artifact I have from back then, we gave beach bags as the actual attendee bag. And this one's sort of raggedy and ratty at this point. I mean, it's a 15-year-old beach bag, and I've been using it forever. But that was what we used as the attendee bag, and things were very DIY back then. So I lived in a town close to New York City, Summit, New Jersey, so affiliate Summit, so my living room was a big sea of bags. We all stuffed the bags there, and then I packed them up in the minivan and drove to the port to offload them to the ship. So everything was very done by hand still back then, 2004. And we didn't know about different vendors that could do that sort of thing. So, and I guess we didn't really have the funds to do it as well. So, so I had just a ton of those beach bags there. It's still fun to have one that I use all the time. And I guess it's like, it's pre-logo for us. So we just had a font pretty much, and you can't really see it there, but this little tiny logo there is Fat Wallet. They're a big sponsor there. And I actually have there's a big banner in my garage that I have along the wall that was for this affiliate summit, and I'm saying that it's sponsored by Fat Wallet. So thank you to Tim Storm for that. But anyway, it's sort of wild to think about the fact that this time 15 years ago we were all on that cruise just going north in the Atlantic, and how far we've come. So and I'm very excited about the future here, the next New York City affiliate summit, and going to Singapore, Vegas after that, then back to Amsterdam. So so it's very cool stuff, and I think we've become a bit too big to ever go back to a ship, but that would be a cool time. It was some amazing networking. Anyway, see y'all in New York City, and hope you enjoyed this trip down memory ocean. Take care. Bye.